The Russian attack on American democracy has dominated U.S. politics since 2016.
My concern is...
But what worries NSA Director Mike Rogers is the certainty more attacks are coming.
Everything, both as a director of NSA and what I see on the Cyber Command side, leads me to believe that if we don't change the dynamic here, this is going to continue. And 2016 won't be viewed as something isolated. This is something will be sustained over time.
Retired Admiral James Stavridis is former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and Chief International Security and Diplomacy Analyst for NBC News.
The intrusion into our electoral process is the most significant incursion into American society since Pearl Harbor.
If you were advising the president on how to respond to that, what would you tell him to do?
I'd say we ought to be doing three things. The first is we ought to be increasing our defensive game so that we can know when this is happening to us. The second thing is we need to reveal to the world when it does happen. We need to be very open and very accusatory toward Russia. And thirdly, we ought to retaliate.
That has not been the American response so far. Instead, the president has tended to give Vladimir Putin the benefit of the doubt.
I believe that he feels that he and Russia did not meddle in the election.
The notion that Donald Trump might have a soft spot for Vladimir Putin began years ago.
He's done a very brilliant job in terms of what he represents and who he's representing.
He's running this country, and at least he's a leader.
I mean, he might be bad, he might be good, but he's a strong leader.
Let me ask you about President Trump. Anytime he says anything about you, it is supremely deferential. Never a harsh word for you. Although if you look at the way he speaks about members of his own party, even of his own staff, never mind other political leaders, he frequently personally insults them. Why do you think he's so nice to you?
I don't believe he treats me personally with reverence. I believe that he's an experienced person. He's a businessman with vast experience. And he understands that if you need to, if it is necessary to establish a cooperative relationship with someone, then you have to treat your current or potential partner with respect. Otherwise, nothing will come of it. I think this is a purely pragmatic approach, firstly. Secondly, despite the fact that he's a first-time president, still he's a quick study after all, and he understands very well that this level, where we are, engaging in mutual accusation and insults, this is a road to nowhere. And if you have noticed, I always treat my colleagues, not only in the United States but in Europe and in Asia, with unwavering respect.
You may, but the truth is our president has referred to the leader of North Korea as Little Rocket Man. So he's not quite as diplomatic, depending on who he's talking about. I'm sure you saw that, yes?
Yes, I've heard. And you know our reaction to this. We call on everyone to show reserve.
Thursday evening, President Trump accepted the North Korean leader's invitation to meet later this year. The Kremlin called it a step in the right direction. As for the Trump-Putin relationship,
he's praised your leadership. Is he an effective leader?
Well, again, it's up to the American people to decide. But he clearly has leadership qualities. They're clearly present because he takes responsibility for making decisions. Again, whether or not someone likes his decisions or not, he makes them nonetheless. That is undoubtedly a sign of having these leadership qualities.
Do you ever read his tweets?
No.
Do you ever tweet?
No.
Why not?
I have other ways of expressing my point of view or implementing a decision. Donald is a more modern individual.
Would you say he's more colorful than you are?
Perhaps.
Donald Trump first visited Russia 30 years ago. Over the years, he has pursued Russian investment. With Russian financing, Mr. Trump built luxury towers. Wealthy Russians bought his condos and leased his name for their own projects. Shortly before Mr. Trump took his Miss Universe pageant to Moscow in 2013, he told David Letterman that he'd met Vladimir Putin.
It's Vladimir Putin. Have you ever met the guy?
Tough guy. I met him once.
On the day of the pageant, he said this.
I do have a relationship with him.
Afterward, this.
I was in Russia. I was in Moscow recently, and I spoke indirectly and directly with President Putin, who could not have been nicer.
And in 2016, this.
I never met Putin. I don't know who Putin is. He said one nice thing about me. He said I'm a genius.
Mr. Putin's version of the story, however, hasn't changed.
Now, Donald came over here to Russia even before he was a candidate. I didn't even know that he had been here. Well, in other words, I found out after the fact. I was told that he, in fact, had been in Russia. I have no clue that he was in Russia.
Years ago, before Donald Trump ran for president, he said he knew you and that he spoke with you a lot. Is that true?
No, I never met him. Before his presidency? Before he ran?
Before he ran.
No, I didn't know him. I had never even talked to him on the phone or otherwise.
As for the future of the Trump-Putin relationship, former CIA Chief John Brennan says that's to be determined.
Well, I do think the Trump-Putin relationship is going to remain awkward, and it's probably going to become more awkward in the coming months as more things come out from Bob Mueller's investigation. Donald Trump has to recognize that he holds the future, the security of this country in many respects in his hands, and he needs to step up to the plate and make sure that Mr. Putin doesn't think that he can get away with threatening the United States and challenging our security.
Coming up, Vladimir Putin, the picture of power?
How important do you think it is to project strength as a president?
It's not important to project strength. It's important to manifest strength.
And how much is Mr. Putin really worth?
And the range I've seen goes from $40 billion to $80 billion to $200 billion.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.